For most of human history, the world was trying to kill you. Not metaphorically, literally. Every single day, lightning struck without warning. Floods appeared overnight. Children died for no reason. Animals attacked from darkness. Diseases spread invisibly. Earthquakes swallowed entire villages in seconds. And behind all of it, no explanation, no science, no understanding of cause and effect beyond what your own two eyes could see. You were a small, frightened creature in an enormous, hostile world, and your brain was desperately trying to make sense of it. That desperation may be exactly how religion was born, not through revelation, not through deception, not through primitive stupidity, but through one of the most powerful survival tools the human brain ever developed, a tool so effective it may have saved our species, and so overactive it filled the entire sky with gods. To understand how this happened, you need to understand a concept called agency detection. Your brain is constantly scanning the environment for threats, and it has a very specific bias built into it. It is far better to assume something is dangerous and be wrong than to assume something is safe and be wrong. Imagine an early human walking through tall grass 100,000 years ago. They hear a rustle. Two options, a predator or the wind. If they assume predator and run, they lose a few calories. If they assume wind and stay, they get eaten. Over millions of years, evolution ruthlessly selected for brains that assumed the worst. Brains that heard a rustle and immediately thought, something caused that. Something with intention. Something that could be tracked, predicted, reasoned with. Psychologists call this hyperactive agency detection, and every human alive today has it. It's why we see faces in clouds, why we hear voices in static, why we feel watched in empty rooms, why we knock on wood, avoid black cats, and feel like the universe is personally punishing us when we miss a flight. Our brains were not built to find the truth. They were built to survive. And survival meant seeing intention everywhere, even where none existed. Now put that brain in front of a thunderstorm. You are standing in the open 50,000 years ago. The sky turns black. The air crackles. A bolt of blinding light tears across the sky, and a tree explodes 30 meters in front of you. Then a sound louder than anything you have ever heard in your life shakes the ground beneath your feet. Your agency detection system fires at full power. Something did that. Not weather patterns. Not atmospheric electricity. Something enormous. Something powerful. Something angry. Something that clearly had a reason. This wasn't stupidity. It was the same brain that tracked animals, read landscapes, and predicted the behavior of rival tribes, doing exactly what it was designed to do. Finding patterns. Inferring intention. Trying to understand cause and effect in a world where understanding cause and effect kept you alive. The problem was that the world contained forces far beyond anything a human brain had evolved to comprehend. And so the brain did the only thing it knew how to do. It invented a mind behind them. Across the ancient world, independently, in every human culture that has ever existed, the same thing happened. Humans began attributing the unknown to intentional agents. Sky beings, earth spirits, ancestor ghosts, river gods, death deities, creator figures. The specific details varied wildly, but the structure was almost identical everywhere. Powerful, invisible minds controlling the forces that humans could not control themselves. Anthropologists call this cognitive byproduct theory, the idea that religion was not designed, not revealed, not invented deliberately. It emerged automatically from the architecture of the human brain. The same mental tools that made us extraordinary social creatures. Our ability to model other minds, predict intentions, imagine unseen agents, turned outward onto the universe itself. Your brain can't turn off its mind-reading software, even when there's no mind to read. And once you believe the storm has a mind, the next step is almost inevitable. If it has a mind, maybe it can be reasoned with. Maybe it can be appeased. Maybe there are rules. Maybe if you do the right things, say the right words, make the right offerings, the powerful, invisible mind behind the thunder will leave you alone. Ritual was born. And here is where something remarkable happened. Because religion, even if it began as a cognitive accident, turned out to be extraordinarily useful. Groups that shared beliefs were more cooperative. Shared ritual built trust between strangers at a scale that personal relationships alone could never achieve. You didn't need to know someone personally to trust them. You just needed to know they feared the same gods you did, followed the same rules, performed the same ceremonies. Research on large-scale human cooperation consistently finds that shared belief systems were one of the primary mechanisms that allowed humans to build tribes, then villages, then cities, then civilizations. Cooperation requires trust. Trust requires predictability. And nothing made human behavior more predictable than the belief that an all-seeing supernatural agent was watching and judging every action. Groups with strong shared beliefs outcompete groups without them. Not necessarily because their beliefs were true, but because belief itself was a coordination technology. A farming community that performs rain rituals together, buries their dead together, fears the same divine punishment for breaking rules. That community plants more land, defends its borders better, and survives famines more effectively than a group of individuals acting alone. Religion didn't just explain the world. It organized humans at a scale that nothing else could, and the stories evolved. The earliest religious expressions were likely animistic, the belief that everything had a spirit: trees, rivers, rocks, animals, the wind. Over time, as human societies grew more complex, the supernatural world grew more complex too. Spirits became gods. Gods developed personalities, rivalries, desires, and rules. Polytheistic pantheons emerged that looked remarkably like the social hierarchies humans already lived inside. Powerful figures at the top, competing for influence, making demands, punishing disobedience. The gods, in other words, looked a lot like us, because they were built from the same cognitive tools we use to model each other. As societies grew even larger, religious systems became more abstract. The many gods collapsed into fewer, more powerful ones. Rules became more universal. The supernatural agent watching your behavior was no longer a local river spirit. It was an omniscient cosmic force present everywhere, always, watching everything. The same cognitive accident, scaled up across millennia. Today, roughly 85% of the world's population identifies with a religious tradition. Billions of people pray, perform rituals, follow moral codes, and find meaning inside frameworks that trace back, in one way or another, to ancient human brains staring at forces they couldn't explain and finding intention where there was only nature. That doesn't make religion trivial. The buildings it inspired are the most extraordinary structures humans have ever built. The art created in its name has never been surpassed. The moral frameworks it developed shaped every legal system on Earth. The comfort it offered in the face of death and suffering has sustained billions of people through histories of unbearable hardship. But the origin was an accident. A brain built for survival in a dangerous world, scanning an enormous and indifferent universe, doing the only thing it knew how to do, finding a mind behind it. Tonight, somewhere in the world, someone is praying before a thunderstorm. And 50,000 years ago, so was someone else, crouched in the dark, watching lightning split the sky, certain that something out there had a reason. They weren't crazy. They weren't primitive. They were human, running the same software you are still running right now. The difference is that you just learned where it came from. But now, when you feel the universe watching, you'll know what's actually happening inside your head. And maybe that's the most human thing of all. Not the gods we invented, but the fact that we needed to.